Good evening. My name is Miguel Rios, and I am very honored to be here tonight. I will be singing for the listening pleasure of the Bowie, Exes, and friends. And we are honoring three very important people. My accompanist is Carlos Corona, great concert pianist. And I wish to thank, and I wish everybody happiness and just being happy and prosperity. Que Dios los bendiga a todos, and we will enjoy tonight's beautiful in memory for these three wonderful people. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I thank Margaro Gonzalez and Ana Maria Dominguez and the whole crew, and you, my friend, too. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Good night.
Muchas gracias. And Board of Directors of Los Exes de la Bowie and Friends, we would like to welcome all of you to these visionary leaders of Segundo Barrio banquet. Okay, and I would like to present the Board of Directors. So would you please come over, Mr. Peralta, Felipe Peralta. This is Dr. Peralta, Estela, Saavedra, Jesus Saavedra. Up here, come over here, please, so that everybody can see you. Mr. Velez, stand up here. Also, I would like to recognize the committee that helped us with this event, which is Mr. and Mrs. Padilla, Esther Padilla. You want to come over to the front, please? Ana Dominguez, Mary Gasca. Is she here? Is she in the front? Okay. This is the committee that put this event together. Okay. Now I would like to present the cover. Would you please stand up? This is the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 574. Mr. Miguel Rios is going to sing for you the measurement with Carlos Corona.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight west gleaming, whose bright stripes and broad spars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Then the rocket's red glare of us first dinner came through the night. Then our flag was still there. Oh, save us, red stars, thank all that yet wave, o'er the land of the brave and the home of the brave.
This is Father Sam Rosales.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us to the world and having us bond as we lived in Segundo Barrio. And we met all our friends who are either present here or shown in the pictures. Photos of Segundo Barrio belong to you, Lord. And we know that you have blessed us with many good leaders, including Father Ram, whom I haven't known very well. You got us all together. And then leaders like Joe Aguilar, who is here present, and Lalo Delgado, and Mr. Tula Yobadi. His children are here today. Lord, we thank you for spreading your mental protection over us and having us learn to pray and to be close to you and to invoke Our Lady of Guadalupe as the patroness of our people, as the gente. And we belong to you, and we ask you to bless us today. We thank you for giving us nourishment and health and strength and life and a desire to keep on keeping on. We ask that give us the grace to continue to do you worship and to serve you at all times, bringing good into the world. And we ask you to continue to bless us segundo body and all the Exes in the board. Thank you for blessing us. And the Almighty God bless the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. I want to mention we have our other priest here, Father Ryan Gonzalez, is the new pastor at Sacred Heart Church. Father Michael Chesney, next to God help you.
Thank you, Father. I believe everybody's hungry. No? Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and get in line by table. Mr. Rios is also going to sing the Ave Maria. Okay? I'm going to introduce Mr. Felipe Peralta, who is going to be talking about the next person, okay? Okay, now we're ready for the second portion of the program tonight. And so we're going to need a Abby to take this on and manage the rest of the program. And we have asked, and he has agreed to do it, Pete Duarte. Okay, but before we complete, let me just tell you a little bit about Pete Duarte. I met Pete Duarte first in 1968 when he moved to the Segundo Barrio. Okay, he had already been in the Peace Corps, someplace in the third world, and then he was assigned to El Paso to do some research. And that began the whole thing, movement of establishing some health centers in El Paso, especially La Family Health Center. Pete is not from South El Paso, even though he claims it. He is from Califa. Okay? But again, you know, there's some people who live their hearts in San Francisco. Pete left his heart and soul in El Segundo Barrio. So please welcome Pete Duarte to take over the second portion of the program.
Thank you, Felipe. Estoy muy agradecido de estar aquí con ustedes esta noche. And I want to welcome everybody to this fundraiser. And it is for a great cause. Because what do people want always? We want a home. We want a piece of rock. We want to be part of this United States. So what the Bowie Exes are doing is great, and we should support them as much as possible. Like Felipe said, I'm not originally from Michuco, but I came in 1969, and the rest of it is history. And I'm one of the lucky ones that was able to go from a small job to a larger job to a larger job. I spent 12 years at UTEP, 12 years at the FED, 12 years at the county hospital, all of your tax dollars. Thank you very much for giving me such a great life. And I tell everybody that I was born and raised in California. I went to public schools in California. I did my undergraduate degree in California, but my real education came in Najuco. Here is where I got my PhD in living. Here is where I learned really what values are. And here is where the best people in the world are located, in the Paso. So I thank you all for allowing me to be part of your life, because thanks to you, the taxpayers, it works for me. And thank you very much for allowing me to be on the welfare system all my life. I was born and raised in a county hospital in Ventura County. I went to public schools in the public education, tax supported. My first job was in the corrections in Ventura County as a probation officer, tax supported. Thanks to the taxpayers, I did well. And then I went into Peace Corps, and that was tax supported. I came back to the States and went to work for Trans-Century Corporation. Came here during the war on poverty, on a tax-supported job with the U.S. Public Health Service. And then I went to UTEP, and I spent 12 years there, tax-supported. And then I went to Thomason for 12 years. That was tax-supported. I went to Planned Parenthood afterwards for 3 months. And then I spent three more months at another tax-supported nonprofit, which is called Hospice. So thanks to you, it still works for me. I'm on tax support right now, getting Social Security. So thank you very much for all the money that you spent on my education. Felipe Peralta, would you please come up? Felipe, where are you? Come on up. I was fortunate, like I said, I was one of the people that was able to go beyond what my parents did. I started first grade not knowing one word of English, and I failed the first grade because I didn't learn English. Y me castigaban mucho, me pegaban, y me ponían en un rincón, y me decían que cómo era the P word. But I learned how to speak English. And believe it or not, when I was in Peace Corps, one of the things that we had to do during Peace Corps training was go to Spanish classes. And the teachers that I had were from Colombia. And they would tell me, yo no sé qué hablas tú, pero es una porquería lo que hablas tú. Puro pocho. Y luego aquí en el Yuco tuve que aprender el calor. Y puedo toriquear un poco, porque, como dijo Felipe, mi sangre está del segundo. Ahí la gente del segundo me abrazó y me educó y me apoyó muchísimo para levantar la fe. Y la levantamos y todavía existe la fe. No sé cuánta gente ha recibido servicio en la fe en este día, pero fueron gente como Felipe, como Márgaro, como Father Ram, a lot of people that help out that are unsung heroes. All of you that are in this room are unsung heroes because you have made a difference in the lives of so many people in our community. Felipe.
together here, but again, there's another thing that we need to pay attention to it, and that's that we want to thank Representative Lily Limon for passing a proclamation making the visionary leaders of El Paso approved by the City Council.
Mi hermana Lili Limón, en un entonces cuando yo estaba en la fe, ella me decía, no te enojes y don't let people play with your emotions, because if you get mad and you get angry at people, then you lose it. And that was the best advice that I ever had. And I seldom lost it, because I remember the words that Lily said to me that time when we were in a strategic planning meeting for HLI.
Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be with you today, and it's also an honor to be able to read this proclamation. And it reads like this: Proclamation, City of El Paso. Whereas Los Exes de la Bowie and friends are involved in the community by providing housing for low-income families, and whereas Los Exes de la Bowie and friends are involved in family preservation by providing guidance and counseling to needy families. And whereas Los Exes de la Bowie and friends are involved in working with students in the Dropout Prevention Program. And whereas Los Exes de la Bowie and friends are involved in community programs with Aoy Elementary School, Higuén Middle School, and Bowie High School. And whereas Los Exes de la Bowie and friends have recently undertaken the El Manto project in Southeast El Paso and completed a home for a visually impaired family. And whereas Los Exes de la Bowie and friends are involved in honoring and recognizing several leaders of the Southside El Paso community, which are Abelardo Lalo Delgado, Buenaventura Tula y Rodalie, Jose Joe Aguilar, and Felipe Ilis Peralta. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the City of El Paso that April 21st, 2016 shall be known as Visionary Leaders of the Segundo Barrio, signed by the Honorable Mayor Oscar Leeser.
Before we pass on the program on to Key Duarte, we do want to acknowledge that we do have a we have two very important groups. We have 10 students from Bowie High School. Would you please stand up, please, students? And I think their chaperone is Carlos Aguilera. If you know anything about El Segundo Barrio, his father was Nino Aguilera, one of the giants of South El Paso. And on the other table, we have Mrs. Acuna taking care of 10 students from Higuén Middle School. They're also joining us tonight. Okay?
I also want to say a couple of words about Nino Aguilera. I don't think that Nino ever received the recognition he richly deserved. He was an unsung hero of the Segundo Barrio. And I know that if we would not have La Fe, if it had not been for Nino and his work and his contacts in the community. And I will tell you also that I would never have been here in El Paso if it hadn't been for Queta Fiero, because we had to get the permission of the congressman to come to El Paso, and we had to get the permission of the city county health director, who was Dr. Ornedo at that time. And Queta was instrumental in getting getting them to give us permission to come to El Paso, and that's how we came to El Paso and the Trans-Century Project. So, Keta, thank you so much. Here is a tireless woman that volunteers for everything in our community. She's a volunteer at the library and a volunteer at Sacred Heart. Elena is going to introduce one of our unsung heroes.
Buenas tardes. And good evening. Last summer, I had the pleasure of visiting with Mr. and Mrs. Aguilar. The idea was to ask Mr. Aguilar a few questions about his work with the community. Before that summer, through life circumstances, I hadn't seen Mr. Aguilar in about 30 years. And one morning, I took the last available seat at a meeting, and it was next to this familiar couple. After our buenos dias, I mentioned to the gentleman next to me that he seemed familiar. Me llamo yo Aguilar, he said quietly, and a flood of embarrassment, but also memories came to my head. I'm so sorry, I told him. Of course, Mr. Aguilar, of course I know who you are. In August, when I visited them at their home, I learned that at one time Mr. Aguilar worked at the gas company as a meter reader before he was called from the military service. There, he served his country, not at combat duty, but in office duty, something which he called a 2-year sort of vacation. But upon returning to El Paso, not only had the gas company kept his job for him, but the long vacation provided him with the opportunity of a college education to the then incipient GI Bill. It was during those years that Father Ram asked him to help out at the KC. As Mr. Aguilar put it, Father Ram can take your t-shirt and you won't even notice it. Not for him, mind you, but for others. The Sacred Heart Gym was not built yet. It was simply in Corralón, where people gathered, but the old Douglas School then belonged to the Knights of Columbus, and Father Ram borrowed it from them to use as a gathering place for the Segundo Barrio youth. There, Joe started as a part-timer, organizing groups of young men and women, working with the gangs, but also providing parties, which ended by praying the rosary and having ice cream. For you see, Father Ram had also secured an ice cream machine. During this time, Mr. Aguilar also worked with Father Ram in establishing the Tepeyac Credit Union and was instrumental in having annual dances at the Corralón, the area where the Sacred Heart Gym now sits. By the time that Father Ram was sent to Brazil and Father Thomas came to El Paso, Mr. Aguilar had completed his degree in education, and he went to teach at Newman School in Northeast El Paso. There, he says he only used a large yardstick. All the while, Proyecto Machos was formed, and this group of young men asked Mr. Aguilar to come and work with them. They organized groups in the vecindades. They established a small food cooperative, which later grew into a larger one, con carnicería y todo. And this everything included end-of-year returns for the participants. By the way, as I was conversing with Mr. Aguilar, he said that all of these were lies. Son puras mentiras. And through Machos, Mr. Aguilar and others seem to have matured the idea of group organization, group pressure through affirmative, non-challenging attitudes. Their ideals were to help the people, but in order to help the people, they also wanted to get the people involved, because in their minds, you can't solve something without involving those being affected by the problem. Perhaps a remnant of Father Ram's example. In this way, the Machos set out to identify problems and improve conditions. They secured improvements in Segundo Barrio apartments along the lines of fixing and painting and gas services. But they also did seemingly innocuous activities by today's standards, such as taking the Barrio children to Kern Place for Halloween. During this period of time, Mr. Aguilar additionally became familiarized with the philosophies of Saul Alinsky. And it was during also that time that, having gotten to know Mayor Peter D. Witter, he traveled with him, and they managed to secure the job for of El Paso instead of San Antonio, as it was initially targeted. Of course, Mr. Aguilar also organized student groups at the job corps at the old Cortez Hotel downtown. And when Mr. David Carrasco secured the East Side property, Joe also worked with him at this location. From there, Mr. Aguilar worked at the Housing Authority, where he was always proud of being a hands-on administrator, one who actually visited the projects in order to identify problem areas. He was also instrumental, of course, in organizing resident groups. And then, Proyecto Bravo, donde estuve trabajando bastante, he says. At Bravo, groups were organized in areas such as South El Paso, the East Side, Phoenix, Canutillo. The groups then chose a leader, and the group leaders in turn advised Mr. Aguilar. Plainly said, you can argue that Proyecto Bravo was a general referral of assistance and do things agency. These included activities ranging from running an employment agency to securing appliances at low cost through the electric company. We also know that funds were secured from community development monies for the construction of apartments in the Segundo Barrio, and that paint-a-thons were promoted through school groups and citywide groups. And that, at that time, at the end of the work week, parties were also organized to thank the workers. Not drinking all-night parties, but what Mr. Aguilar refers to as agradecimiento parties, with beer and music ending at 5 or 6 p.m. And then, of course, there was the purchase of the building on Montana Street. But Proyecto Bravo, under the leadership of Joe Aguilar, was also instrumental in organizing and establishing institutions such as Legal Aid and Dr. Gardea's clinic, which was known for a very short while as Father Ron Clinic. Retiring at 73, Mr. Aguilar took his quiet revolution to the leadership of St. Joseph's, St. Anthony Seminary, and San Francisco Javier, where not only did he continue organizing people and serving in whatever was needed, from teaching to being an altar boy, and finally a sacristan. Yet now he says he doesn't do much because he has to exercise twice a day. And because the idea was not to build something and retain it, not to see it grow and keep it for one's own glory. Que sigan otros. And it is here that I want to bring up something very, very special. The conversation I had with Mr. Aguilar was peppered with expressions such as, yes, I was there. A mí me tocó estar ahí. Me fui con ellos. I stayed for a few years. Así empezó. Ayudé ahí. We had lots of groups. Así, and more groups. Así, más o menos. No más así. Sí, así no más. Joe Aguilar was born in El Paso. He grew up in the Segundo Barrio, in la calle Florence. Went to Sacred Heart Church, belonged to the Luises de San Luis Gonzaga, graduated from Cathedral, although he did attend Bowie for a year. Ahí estaba Carrasco, he recalled. He has been married to Josefina for 62 years, since 1953. Father Juan was to marry them, but he left town. And instead, it was Father Libertini who married them. He teased Mr. Aguilar incessantly because Josefina was late, and Father kept telling him that she wasn't going to show up. The Luises made a line for them at their wedding, and the church was filled with flowers because it was Sunday, the day after the celebration of Our Lady's Assumption. They raised 9 children, and when I asked Mr. Aguilar how did he manage to be an activist and help raise 9 children, yo colgaba las tapetas. An example of leadership, grassroots organization, commitment, of empowerment of people through group strength. Okay, you organize, gave strength, and you let it go. For others to grow, for others to even shine. You once told Father Thomas, there are no more groups here. What am I going to do? I better leave. I'm very glad you did. Mr. Aguilar, you have touched many of us more than you'll ever know. Our sincere and deepest gratitude. Thank you.
The tenements. And Joe almost single-handedly erased all of those tenements and got low-income housing for people. And he's really a hero as far as I'm concerned.
We are giving Mr. Aguilar a copy of the proclamation and, of course, our own recognition. We also have a gift provided by the Villamontes family.
Thank you, Joe, for all your work and your efforts in this community. We love you.
Hello. First of all, I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to be here. Second, I give you thanks for all of you making time to be present. And in all the projects that I've worked, they were successful, not because of me, but because of the staff that we work. They are the ones that did all the work. I was just a little figure guy. But on all those projects, we have very good staff, dedicated, and they were able to work and provide services to the people. And again, thank you, God bless you, and be careful when you stay home.
Thank you again, Joe. And, Joe agreed to be a member of the Exes de la Bowie. I wanted to make sure that he still is.
Our next speaker, I didn't get to meet. But I know of his park. I know that he worked with Father Ram to stop the gangs in South El Paso just before I got here. And when I got here, Lalo Delgado and Sal Ramirez El Huevo were still organizing people in the south side, as was Machos under the great leadership of Joe Aguilar. We have the honor of having Mrs. Padilla here, Tula's oldest daughter, to introduce Tula and talk a little bit about his contributions to South El Paso. So, un aplauso para la señora Padilla.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Esther Padilla. I would like to thank you on behalf of my brothers and sisters the Ruwali family. I would also like to thank Margaro for putting this together. Without him, we wouldn't have been able to get it going. Also, Father Rosales, I'm a little nervous, I'm sorry. Father Sam Rosales, SJ, he is also one of the directors of the Father Ram Council. Also, those Exes de la Bowie that we work with as well. I would also like to thank Father Ram because he is the person that recruited my dad. And my dad was a very quiet person. He was very energetic when it came to kids. He worked with El Paso's kids in the South Side with the gangs such as the Little Niners, the 7 Exes, the 14s, the 13s, the Little Niners, the Thunderbirds. He worked with all these young men who were not the best of South El Paso. But my dad believed in the youth can always be shaped, formed, and rebuilt, which he and Father Ram did so. Now, Father Ram was a very energetic person that, like someone said, you could give his t-shirt and you wouldn't even know you did so. My dad was a person who loved his family, loved children, loved working with men and women as well. I don't want to discount the women out, but there were a lot of women also who helped out. But we are talking about a particular person who changed a lot of kids. Now, you all had him, we as a family had him from 7 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. You all had him from 3:35 to 9 p.m. We shared our dad with you. A great deal of you grew up knowing him as Mr. Tula because that was a nickname that he got from El Dorados de Chihuahua, which he played basketball. He also played for Union Furniture Company. He also played for the Miners. He was a sport person. He dreamt, ate, lived sports. Our house was always kind of smelly because we had equipment for baseball, football, basketball uniforms. So it wasn't that we were clean. It's just that it was always full of equipment, and which was donated by a lot of people who believed in the kids in South El Paso. Now, a long time ago, the police would not go, no offense to the police department, but they would not go to South El Paso because it was so hard. But once these people were recruited by Father Ram, who had a vision, and he had people with the same vision that South El Paso could change, which it was changed by these people. My dad was also known, he had a staff, and a lot of you guys are still here. Felipe Peralta, Marcelo Campos, Bácaro, Bright Dominguez, my brother Rudy, Iruali, who else? Yes, that's you. Pete Diaga, he was my dad's right hand. Him and Pete were, my dad and Pete were inseparable, but they were always everywhere recruiting kids to make a difference for us. Now, he also had Camp Juan Diego. There, the kids learned how to go camping. We also built an obstacle course, which helped kids learn how to, they could have muscles, which none of us in South El Paso had because all we ate was beans and potatoes. But these kids managed to learn how to camp, go hiking, do exercise, and the best of all, swimming. They love to go swimming. So we not only took them to Camp Juan Diego, we also took them to Ruidoso, well, my dad did, Ruidoso and other places to advance, to go out of El Paso knowing that there was a different world out there and they could make a difference. A lot of young men became lawyers, judges, and we even had a priest from South El Paso. We have counselors, we have teachers that came from South El Paso. They were developing this. My dad believed in them. He believed that they could be instrumental to the society of South El Paso. Now, my dad was a very quiet and loving person. Again, he always stayed in the background. He liked others to receive the awards known to them as for their charitable work, donating their time. Now these kids really performed doing the best they knew how by getting educated, by learning how to speak English. That Spanish is a beautiful language, but we can learn to have both languages in ourselves. We can learn to speak English and Spanish, which they did. So it was very beautiful to hear that we could do all these things. My father also was married to a very beautiful young lady by the name of Romelia, known as Mrs. Tula. Now, when my dad died, my mother carried on providing the Girl Scouts, providing the clubs that we all had, which was the Guadalupano, the Fatima Club, the Girl Scouts. All these clubs were started to develop young leaders for South El Paso. Now, one of the things that my dad did, he loved basket. He always played basket, even from a young man to an older person. He loved playing basketball. And the kids in South El Paso loved to play with him because they wanted to do better than him. So a lot of kids considered themselves, my dad was their dad. So my father had son number 1, son number 2, son number 3, and so on. Son number 1 was a young man named Mascota. He was tall, dark, and handsome. All the girls would go crazy over this young man. The son number 2 was a man by the name of Benny Castro. Son number 3 was Rudy Lopez, Tuffy's brother. Tuffy was also another member of my dad's staff. I forgot about him. So again, it's hard to explain my father because, like, again, he stayed in the background. He became the director of Art Youth Center, gave that to Joe so that he could stay with the children, the kids, learning and teaching them how to be young men of tomorrow. My dad had 5 children. I understand he had 32 grandchildren. He has 52 great-grandchildren and still counting. So again, I would like to thank you on behalf of my brothers and sisters who appreciate and thank you for the part. We all bring our grandkids. We'd like to have you guys share with us the memories you all had, because I can share with my children, but I don't know all the stories when you guys went out on the camping trips, on the field trips. They love that. And when you were playing baseball, my dad would coach you, talk to you, and mold you to the person you were supposed to be. I am very grateful to be here representing my father. And this is the first, and I thank you very much on behalf of my family. Thank you. My brother Rudy and my sister Yolanda. Yolanda y Rumani Valdez, and my brother Rodolfo Rumani.
Well, I guess my sister covered it pretty much. The only one thing I think she forgot was, more than anything, my father was a man of God. He was a man that believed in principles, and he always showed that forth. And I think that was what was so idealistic for so many people that, and young people that would see him. They saw him, a father in him, and he was a very good father. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Brings me a lot of memories of my dad. He did so much, and I'm really grateful that he did. On the values, my sister forgot one person, is Mando Hayes. He's also a very good person, very good man. So thank you very much. There's a video on Mr. Kula from one of the members that came from he's here. Jimmy Allen.
And it was an honor when those Exes and Bowie and friends asked me to share my experience with Our Lady Youth Center, and especially a person that made a lot of big impact in my life and other youth with Tula. To this day, I am very grateful and beyond grateful of the guidance and the discipline that Tula made in my brother's life and mine. He's the one that introduced me to sports. Back in the day, I think I was approximately about 6 or 7. Started playing Little League. And to this day, I'll be 65 in a few months, and I'm still playing baseball. I love the sport, and I love the positive influence that Tula made in my life. Because we're here to honor other people, Lalo and Joe. But when I was asked for the conversation of Tula came up, I jumped at the opportunity. I remember one of the times Tula had planned a field trip up to Cristo Rey. It was my first time up there. And ever since then, to this day, my wife and I, we climb Cristo Rey twice a year. Just a little bit closer to God, meditate in prayer, and give thanks for all the blessings of life. So it is with great pleasure and an honor to say, Tula, may you rest in peace, and may God bless you, and your family, Los Exes and Bowie and friends, of the good job they continue doing. God bless to everybody. Be safe. Thank you.
Next presenter is Felipe Peralta, and Felipe was just a young kid when I first came to El Paso. When my wife and I first came to El Paso, we lived down on Day Street and Second Street, behind the Ceres Pharmacy. And Felipe was already organizing people in the Second Ward, and he never stopped. After he organized the Second Ward, then he went on to get his PhD in social work and taught for many years at Las Cruces. and he's still volunteering at Bowie High School. I learned this morning that there's going to be a mega high school in El Paso that will combine two major institutions from South El Paso, and it's going to be called the LBJ School of Excellence. LBJ, los de la Bowie y Jeff. Fermín Dorado told me that this morning. And our next speaker is Felipe Peralta.
It is my honor to present to you Abelardo Lalo Delgado. You know, Abelardo was only with us, and I'm not talking about his moving on in time, you know. I'm talking about just being with us. Not too long, I think I would say that probably about 10, 12 years. And then he moved on. But I think, again, you know, I think we've been talking about these people like Joe and Tula. And there may be some of you who don't think, but this guy didn't do anything. But let me tell you, this is the background of what they were doing, okay? First of all, El Segundo Barrio, for those of us of my age, remember that El Segundo Barrio was mostly presidios. That's what we used to call our houses. Now, if you think of presidios, it's like a prison. Because again, it was really 2 or 3 rooms. They didn't have hot water or cold water. They didn't have a sink for each family, okay? But in order to go to the bathroom, you had to share it with maybe 10 other families. So this is why taking a bath was a very serious event, okay? So we did it only on Saturdays, okay? And we managed all right, okay? But again, this is, the South El Paso. When I was growing up, the zip code of the city of South El Paso, 79901, was the poorest zip code in the nation. So we had poverty, we had deplorable housing, we had no health care. It was really a hassle just living through it. And these are the people that made the difference of what we know now. Now you look at South El Paso, there's a 5-story building going up. It's beginning to look like Fifth Avenue in New York. Huh? How's that? And who started these people? But I want to concentrate on, because again, we have a very special group over there, Los Delgados. Later on, we're going to bring them up. But again, we do have 4 visitors from Denver, Colorado. His daughter. Okay. But let me tell you about Lalo. Okay. Lalo was born on November 27, 1931, in La Boquilla de Conchos, Chihuahua. Okay. He came to the United States with his mother when he was only 12 years old. And again, typical educational system in the United States. Without knowing a word of English, they put him in the 3rd grade at Eoy. Okay, again, you sink or swim, whatever you do, I mean, it's really up to you, okay? And that's it. I mean, if you talk to a lot of people, that really is what happened to a lot of the students coming from Mexico. It's very interesting. Lalo didn't want to go to Eoy. He wanted to go to Lydia Patterson. Okay, pues todos queríamos ir a la Lydia, pero you didn't have the money, so you didn't go. Okay, so eventually he stayed in Eoy. There's a very interesting story about Lalo at Eoy. When he went there and he noticed that all the kids were, they were getting together and they sing the national anthem, he said, what the heck are we going to do here? These kids don't know even how to speak English, and you're singing that song to those kids. What we need is el himno nacional de Mexico. Okay, and he advocated for that, and eventually they started playing both of the songs. Okay, this is the kind of mentality that Lalo Delgado had. Okay, he moved, he went to Eoy, somehow he survived, moved on to Bowie High School. Twice he was given a promotion to a higher grade because he was that smart. And let me tell you, I met Lalo and he was very smart. Okay, he eventually graduated from Bowie High School in the top of his class. All that for a guy from Chihuahua. Okay, then he was also the vice president of the National Honor Society. even with those accomplishments, he graduated and he couldn't get a job. Does that ring a bell for some of us? Okay, he can't get even a job here in El Paso. So he worked in construction and restaurants. Then came the magic wand of Father Ram. You see, that's the unique, the thing that makes it so unique. All these people were touched by Father Ram. Okay? And again, from 1955 to 1964, he came to work to the Outrageous Youth Center. He started as the employment office, and then also he was in charge of special events. Basically what they did, if I remember correctly, was that people would call in for jobs, and he would get some people from the barrio and send them to those jobs. That's how. Later on, Manuel Payanes took over that assignment there in Segundo Barrio. Okay? So from 1955 to 64, he worked there. But so that means that he was already making some money. And then Lalo, knowing being Lalo, he started looking for somebody to share the money with. And he met Dolores Estrada. Okay? So that made it very simple for Lalo. He married her on October the 11th, 1953, and became Lalo and Lola. How's that? Huh? Pretty sharp guy, huh? Okay? He had a total of 8 children, 8 girls and 2 boys. If you look at the names of the children, that's one thing that strikes you right away. What is it? They all began with the letter A. That's Lalo thinking. That's how Lalo thought. Okay. After working with at the Outrageous Youth Center, he met probably the men that changed the south side. Again, Salvador Huevo Ramirez. When you combine those 2 people, they started making a difference. They were the first ones to get a federal grant from President Kennedy to fight juvenile delinquency in South El Paso. Huh? How's that for Lalo Delgado and Huevo Ramirez? See, Huevo has never received any recognition, maybe because of his nickname. But let me tell you, Huevo was a really bright person. Okay, as a matter of fact, he went on to teach at the University of Colorado without even a college degree. But that's how smart the guy was. Okay? Now, one of the things that Lalo used to do was very interesting. On his birthday, he would collect as many kids that were not doing anything, and he would say, "You guys want to ride?" And they said, we would say, yeah, let's see. And he would get us on the truck and take us to Cristo Rey. And then we said, well, look, we're going to climb Cristo Rey. He wouldn't go through the path. You just go up. Okay? That was Lalo style. Okay? But he did it every year. Okay, now, one of the things that I talked about is, again, the deplorable conditions that most of us live under. You know, it was very interesting when you go to your friend's house in El Segundo Barrio. And some of them have some real names. Again, I think the more notorious presidios in South El Paso eran los 6 infiernos. How's that for a neighborhood? Where do you live? En los 6 infiernos, carnal. Okay, también. Y anda el diablo ahí todas las noches ahí. Okay? That's the house that was there in Segundo Barrio. Okay, so that became the focus of a lot of people. Now, on Wednesday, January the 4th, 1967, there were 3 children who were burned to death at 503 and a half South Mesa. Ismael Robles, Ismael Robles, 8 years old, Orlando Robles, 7 years old, Leticia Robles, 4 years old. And they were burned to death. I'm sorry? Well, I got it from the newspaper, pick it up with them. That's where I got it. As a matter of fact, there it is. Okay, so. Okay, well, you guys handle it better. Okay, let me finish, Margarito. Get out of here. Okay. One of the things that, again, they've already talked about. One of the things that Huevo and Lalo did, they got together and organized machos, okay, Mexican-American Committee on, what was it? On honor, opportunity, and service. Okay, that's what Machos stood for. Another organization that they started was the Mexican American Youth Association. Let me get a picture. And here with us tonight is the president, a former president of the Mexican American Youth Association, Gerardo Arajo over there. Take a bow for Gerardo. Okay, and again, at this point, Machos, everybody that was working in South El Paso, we were trying to do a very simple thing in a democracy. We were trying to get city council to pass a city code. Because again, not having any, the owners could do just about anything they wanted there. Okay? They didn't do any improvements to the homes. You know, I remember one time, Will, that we were asking was to get a gas pipe into the neighborhood, to the buildings, so that they could actually have gas to cook and heat. But they refused to do it. But this is the beauty of working with Lalo and Joe and Tuna. You know, they were very religious. So again, one of the things that I remember doing was around, we found out where the owners of those apartments would live, and we would go at around 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and we would not confront them because we had already done it and they didn't want to do anything. So what we did was to pray the rosary. How's that? You know, I made a lot of brownie points with God because I prayed a lot of rosary. Okay? But this is what the kind of stuff that we were doing. I know a lot of people get upset when you talk about the Chicano movement because they were protesting, they were marching and doing it. But there was as a last resort. We wanted to negotiate with those people. But again, if they didn't do it, then we went out and do everything that we wanted again, just to see if we could get meet our goals. All that we wanted was just decent housing for our families. Okay, and that's what Lalo did more than anything. Eventually, I think it was 70 or 71, that the city did pass a housing code. And this is why now, even we have Roberto Morales here, owns an apartment in Segundo Barrio. He's got to meet those standards, okay? And he also helped a lot of some of the elderly families in the Segundo Barrio, because this is what people are doing now, okay? After that, Lalo went to go work at UTEP, okay? It was a special program. Now again, you think, why would anybody want to have a special program at UTEP? Let me tell you, UTEP was not a very friendly place to Chicanos. I gotta tell you that. Again, you know, they had a English composition course, 3101, that had a 70% failure rate. Now, I know Chicanos can write, come on guys. But again, it was just a matter that they were going to make it hard. And a lot of them went on probation, and eventually they left the university. So we established that program to help those people. It's very interesting. Years later, Lalo was already at the university, but when the funding ended, he had to leave. But it was very interesting. Years later, we had two Chicanos from El Paso, Jesus Indio Rodriguez and Ray Velarde here in front, who became the first elected president and vice president of the student body at UTEP. How's that? They didn't play basketball. They went and become the officers of UTEP. Okay? And again, it was not directly, but this is what Lalo did. Lalo planted ideas. You know, ideas that you gotta do this and you gotta do this and that, and then people decided to follow. Again, after that, Lalo left us. Again, he was in high demand. He went to Denver, Colorado, to Utah, working as a consultant or working with farm workers. Let me tell you, he was in high demand. And that's another thing that I wanna put my 2 cents here. Because again, this is the thing that happens to you when you do a great thing here in El Paso. When you become identified as a leader, like Lalo was, after a while, people will refuse to hire you. Why? Because again, you know, the other day, she's here. Yesterday I met with this young lady who's doing a story on this event. I asked her, name a leader in El Paso, a Hispanic leader in El Paso. Now she's in journalism. She couldn't come up with a name. And I know we have them. We have Fermin, we have Pablo, we have Hera, we have Pérez. They're leaders. But again, we always want to make them, oh, Mrs. Robles here who's been a leader for the longest time. Oh, but we want all our leaders to have those unique characteristics. Oh, you gotta go eat at the Bowie bakery. And once in a while go to Jalisco. What the heck does that mean anything? Forget about it. Look at the issue and try to do something about it. Okay? Eventually, Lalo passed on July the 23rd, 2004. You know, it's very interesting, again, and I haven't even touched perhaps one of the most important parts of his life was the literature. Lalo is considered the father of Chicano leadership in the whole country. And when he died, he was recognized not only here in El Paso y el Fronterizo y el Diario, but also the New York Times and the LA Times. This is the impact that Lalo Delgado had, and he started from Oregon and 5th Street, guys. Huh? This is the kind of Lalo Delgado is. So for that, we want to thank Lalo for his contribution to us, that follow on his footsteps. And now we want to recognize the family over there. We have Ana Duran, Angelica Tecla, Amelia Cruz, and Andrea Brady. These are the daughters of Lalo Delgado.
Thank you. I don't know if I could top that, but it is an honor that you remember my father and all the hard work he did, the fasting for the Segundo Barrio, for the projects, better conditions. And like he said, he was very humble, and all he wanted to do was to help people. He said our mission in life was really just to help everyone that needed help and to be there for him. He also spoke a lot about Father Ron. And my father wrote. He wrote and he wrote and he wrote. I found a poem that he wrote for Bowie High School. I found a poem that he wrote for El Barrio. There's a poem for everything. He just wrote all the time. And he wrote about growing up in El Segundo Barrio. And he talks about Father Ron. And he says, this Jesuit priest of German origin, besides being my boss, was my mentor and my spiritual guide. I learned many things from him, but the most important was to love and care for people who need help. He was the living gospel, love purified. He was a very spiritual and saintly person, but he was also very practical. He told me once that if ever the Roman Catholic Church stopped making sense, it would be time for a clue for me to leave it. All good things come to an end. This priest got assigned to Brazil. He learned Portuguese with the very same ease he had learned Spanish. He had a tremendous love and devotion for Our Lady of Guadalupe, the patron saint of Chicano people. A strong embrace, a handshake, and many tears. I lost the man who had inspired me so much, my spiritual foundation. Since then, I have fallen many a times and gotten up just because of him. Thank you so very much.
A flag that reads the following. In recognition as a visionary leader of El Segundo Barrio, Los Exes de la Puya and Friends Incorporated honors Abelardo Lalo Delgado for your devotion and dedication to improve the lives and families of families in El Segundo Barrio. April 21st, 2016.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pipis, for presenting Lalo Delgado. Now, Big Duarte is going to say a few words.
In 2008, I lost my wife. We had been married for 41 years, and I told you that we first came to El Paso in 1968, and we lived on 2nd Street and Days. And the amazing thing about her is que era gabacha, and she was right at home in the Segundo Barrio, and she spoke better Spanish than I do. And I was fortunate to go to UTEP after the War on Poverty project ended. And I was fortunate to go there because of a young man who really distinguished himself. He was the Boy of the Year for the U.S. Boys Club. And this man, I told him the last time I saw him that the reason that I'm still in El Paso is because of him. Because he got me the job at UTEP. And forever I will be eternally grateful to Ray Velarde for the work that he has done in our community, for so many thousands of young kids, young people, older people, people that suffer from the disease that I have. I can't say enough about Ray Velarde, who is going to introduce our next honoree. Ray.
Without a doubt, this has been a very nostalgic evening. And I want you all to know that I stand before you as a very proud beneficiary of all that love that was extended by all those people that have been honored tonight. Joe Aguilar, Tulio Balin, and of course, Lalo Delgado, and my mentor here, my left, Pete Duarte. We have had the privilege of recognizing these outstanding men for their contributions to El Paso's Segundo Barrio. However, there's one man who deserves equal recognition for his lifetime accomplishments and contributions. He is without a doubt a very humble man, powered by motivation, and a person who genuinely cares deeply about himself and others. Tonight will not be the night that he got away from us. So let me tell you a little bit about the next person who needs no introduction, because after all, his name is on the program. It was supposed to be a surprise. You can't keep these things a surprise from Pipi Peralta. Now, he's not known only as Pipi's, but he's also known as Dr. Felipe Peralta. Felipe was born in Castillo, Zacatecas, to a family of 5 brothers and 6 sisters. And I want you to know they're all Democrats. His family moved to the United States in 1955, the year after I got here. He started his education at Alamo Elementary School and continued on to Hart Elementary. And then he attended my alma mater, Bowie High School, between the years 1960 and 1964, where he was affectionately given the name Pipis. And to this day, I don't know why Pipis, but maybe if you stick around, you might ask him and he'll tell us. He was an average student with a sense of humor, but he distinguished himself in sports. There he received citywide recognition. He was a city champion in wrestling for 2 consecutive years, as well as an all-district football player as a wide receiver. He was also the sports editor of the Growler and the Aztec Yearbook. He also wrote a weekly column entitled Pete's Side. El Pipis graduated from Bowie High School in May of 1964, some 4 years before me. That summer, he was recruited by Father Ron S.J. to work with young people in South El Paso, El Segundo Barrio. During this period of time, El Segundo was, of course, experiencing a very volatile time period with a lot of gang warfare, consisting of gangs from different parts of the neighborhood. And notwithstanding the fact that Pipis really did not grow up in the presidios like many of us, Pipis grew up in Rio Linda. That little corner of El Segundo Barrio that was marked by trees and individual residential homes. Well, Rio Linda no longer exists. Rio Linda was ceded to Mexico as a result of the Chamizal Treaty. But Pipis was able to rise from that little corner, integrate himself with the rest of the neighborhood, and he did it with the blessing of Father Ron. He began to work with Dula Rojalí, a man who to us was like a giant. If you've seen his picture, he did project like a giant, and yet he carried himself like a gentle bandit. Felipe was one of Tula's youth workers there at the youth center. And through his position, he started to organize sports activities in El Segundo Barrio. Tuli Robalí was like the commissioner. The commissioner of baseball, the commissioner of basketball, the commissioner of touch football. And Pipis was one of his very, very vital helpers. There he organized many of the groups that subsequently went on to make up the group of the Mexican American Youth Association that Felipe spoke about. He organized the Shamrocks, the Chihuahua Cougars, the Blue Stars, the Durango All-Stars, all over the neighborhood. Well, Felipe was the person. He was Tula's go-to guy. He was the connect to all these different groups. In 1967, Felipe then graduated to the El Paso Juvenile Delinquency Project with Sal Ramirez, another very significant person in my lifetime. Sal at that time was the director of the El Paso Boys Club, now known as the El Paso Boys and Girls Club. He became a youth worker, as he mentioned, at Los Siete Infiernos. And it wasn't so bad. It was just 7 units consisting of 18 families each. Imagine, multiply 7 by 18, that's how many families you get. Well, then you average out about 6 members per family. That's how many people live in half a block. And here's the surprise. We all had to share no less, no more than maybe 6 bathrooms for all these families per unit, if you were lucky. So when Felipe talks about looking outdoors and making sure that you could make a run to the bathroom, you literally had to do that because you never knew who next door was waiting to do the same thing. In any event, that's where Felipe flourished at Los Siete Infiernos. And of course, there's where he met the likes of Nina, and we talked already about Nino Aguilera, a beautiful man. In 1968, by the age of 23, Felipe had already become the director of the Vista Minority Mobilization Project, which was kind of like an extension of National Vista here in El Paso. They did a lot of outreach work in all the different sections of South El Paso. And through this platform, he supervised 30 community leaders from throughout El Segundo Barrio. The organization addressed the problems of poor housing, health, education, and hunger. And Felipe played a very active role in changing the El Paso city housing standards to provide for indoor plumbing for these homes in South El Paso. Felipe was also selected during this time period as the El Paso representative to the National Conference on Hunger in Washington, D.C., that was then organized by the Reverend Jesse Jackson. The Vista Minority Program was instrumental in organizing Maya, the Mexican American Youth Association, which was the groundwork program that started Centro de Salud La Fe. This organization produced such leaders as Salvador Valcorta, Antonio Chachamarin, Gera Antoni Araujo, and rest in peace, Victor Vega. But let me share something by way of a footnote at this point. Up until 1969, if you're a pre-ex and you go back to that era, you know that the school had a very strict policy of prohibiting students from speaking Spanish on campus. It was considered a major violation, which could result in sanctions, sometimes even suspensions. Whenever it didn't result in that, you were kept after school for at least an hour and you were told to write 500 times, "I will not speak Spanish on campus in the not too far distant future." Ridiculous way of teaching us how to write. But in any event, they made us write that for 500 times. In any event, in 1969, all of that came to a screeching halt. And it came to a halt because these young men that Felipe had organized, the very men that I've already recognized so far, they staged what you might consider like a wildcat strike at Bowie. Because they had to stand up and finally say, I want to be validated. I want to be told that I'm great. I don't want to be told that I'm inferior or that I'm second class. And I want to be able to speak the language that is more dear to me. And because of that persistence, that policy drew national attention before the U.S. Civil Service, the U.S. Civil Rights Commission hearings in San Antonio, and that policy was done away with. But that was the work of the youth, of the many, many young men that Felipe was organizing, as far back as 1969. In that same year, Felipe became the state training officer for New Mexico and Texas for this VISTA volunteer organization. And he trained over 200 VISTAs in South Texas, El Paso, and New Mexico. Imagine the degree of change that he was promoting with all these people in that geographic area. Felipe graduated from UTEP. I'm surprised that he finally got around to graduating, but he graduated in 1970 because, frankly, this man worked incessantly, not 40, not 60 hours, continuously, 7/24, every day. But he found time to get his studies out of the way, and he got his education at UTEP, where he obtained a degree in education. And that's where he learned how to work. That's where he worked with Lalo Delgado in those tutorial programs. And then in 1971, Felipe broke the glass ceiling. Felipe was one of those students, the first generation of students to go to the University of Michigan, a major learning institution in the United States. From there, he graduated in 1973 with a master's degree in social work, and he distinguished himself, but again, with the activist side that characterized him so well. He organized Trabajadores de la Raza, which was a Chicano social workers program, along with the likes of Arturo Rodriguez, who is now the president of the United Farm Workers Organization. So imagine, at that level, he was already rubbing elbows with those people that are still making the news right now. And then upon his return to El Paso, Felipe then went to work for Centro de Salud La Fe as a planning director, and he wrote the first proposal that was funded for Federal Women, Infants, and Children's Program, otherwise known as WIG, here in El Paso. The WIG, of course, still continues to be a major program here in El Paso. Thank God for Felipe's work dating back to that era. WIG has still been going on strong. And the program has brought millions and millions of dollars to El Paso. In 1973, he was offered a teaching position at UTEP, working with Lidia Aguirre, and there they established the social work program, which still is thriving to this day. In '79, he was selected the National Urban Fellows Program, and he was assigned as administrator to the Commissioner of the New York City's Department of Employment. And while in this program, he taught at Bucknell University, another institution of higher learning in Pennsylvania. In 1980, he returned to El Paso as director of the social work program at UTEP, and there he was instrumental in starting part-time extension Masters of Social Work program in competition with UT Austin. This program made it possible for professional service workers in El Paso to obtain a master's degree while remaining fully employed. In 1986, Felipe was recruited by New Mexico State, where he is now a tenured professor in the School of Social Work, teaching at both the undergraduate and the graduate programs. And as professor, Mr. Peralta has conducted research and written scholarly articles on the subjects of children living on the streets, as well as prostitution in the border region. He has presented the results of his research findings in Mexico City, Santiago, Chile, San Jose, Costa Rica, Stockholm, Sweden, Calgary, Canada, Cairo, Egypt, Athens, Greece, and Jerusalem, Israel. And back to El Paso in 1984, he established the first DWI and defensive driving program for Spanish-speaking drivers, assisting well over 7,000 people. And he was involved in establishing a $250,000 foundation by the Bowie alumni to help Bowie students and family and faculty. The foundation has been, to this day, one of the first of its kind. And the Bowie Alumni Association has continued to raise money for scholarships. In 1986, Felipe also started Project OSOS, which stands for Osos Serving Our Students. It was a program to work directly with students from Bowie High School, and well over 150 students were assigned a mentor to work during their academic year. The first murals in El Segundo Barrio are the product of a proposal by Mr. Peralta as part of a summer youth program. The actual program was administered by Carmen Felix, another giant in South El Paso. Without a doubt, the leadership of Felipe Peralta has been recognized throughout the country. He has also been a visiting professor at la Escuela Nacional de Trabajo Social de la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. There he served as a board member of the National Council of la Raza from 1969 to 1983. In 1992, he was selected Social Worker of the Year for the state of New Mexico. He has provided technical assistance to more than 20 social service agencies in El Paso and Las Cruces. At last, in 2006, Felipe graduated from UT Arlington with a PhD in social work. Occasionally, you might see him mentoring or tutoring students at Guillen Middle School and now Bowie High School. Dr. Felipe Peralta represents the best of the Bowie philosophy. We honor your dedication, Felipe, for giving back to our community, for giving back to El Segundo. The Bowie family and all of us are proud of your lifelong contributions to benefit others. The Bowie community and all of us here are much better off because of the hardworking and dedication that you have shown, and for this we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Felipe, please stand. This is a plaque that's going to be extended to Mr. Peralta, and this is how it reads. In recognition as a visionary leader of El Segundo Barrio, Los Exes de la Bowie Friends Incorporated honor you, Felipe Peralta, for your devotion and dedication to improve the lives of families in El Segundo Barrio, dated April 21st, 2016.
Really nothing else to say. Come on, it's getting late. Let's go home. Thank you very much. And I want to thank my classmates from the class of 64 over there. And we've always been together. We inspire each other to help each other. So that's what we're all about. We're trying to just put in a little seed there to make things better. Thank you very much to everyone.
Great, thank you. Felipe, gracias de nuevo. Gracias a todos ustedes por atender este evento tan hermoso. Muchas gracias. We conclude, and I need to talk to Mr. Saavedra. Please come over, Saavedra, and please Duarte.
Again, thank you very much for being here this evening and continue helping the Bowie Exes, because we need to build more homes so people can really feel like they're part of this community. And let me tell you, there's nothing like owning a home. I've been fortunate, like I said, I'm one of the fortunate in this community that has made it. I told you before that I lost my wife in 41 years in 2008. In 2010, in the airport in Mexico City, I was sitting with my wife to be in the airport in Mexico City, and I had known her, and she was an undergraduate at UTEP, and I was working at UTEP at that time. And she got married, and she went off and had her children, and got a divorce. Now, here I am, a viudo, and so I would like to introduce my wife of a couple of years, Irma Camacho. Would you please stand up? Irma. And to the way in the back, very back. Irma, you have made my life so wonderful. People ask me why I look so great. Due to the formula, there it is.
People that got the award, would you please come up front? Mr. Peralta, you want to come up front for pictures? Por favor. La familia Novalí, Esther, Yoli.
You remember my dad? Yes. It's wonderful when people get those. We were so blessed and honored when they said, Ronnie and your father. And I looked up and we had a home for El Barrio. We had a home for Bowie High School. We had a home for Escala del Norte. We had a home, and he wrote about the Segundo Barrio, how much he loved it. Oh, and Bowie High School, that was the best. And his whole life was blessed. My father Ronnie loved dearly. South Ramirez, my niece, my godparents. It was so neat to see them again. That was awesome. Yeah, so good to come. She said, no, we've got to go down there and accept the Lord. Because that fast and everybody that had some change. And you know, we used to give out homes left and right to everybody. To everybody. Nice. That's a good thing. Good memory. He was always happy. He died very happy.
There's extra food in the back. If anybody's interested, please help yourself.
Welcome to see you again, Peter. Take care. You look good. You look good. See you. Good. That's good. We're gonna go work. Good work. See you.
No,